Hi you guys, I'm back with my Crypto 101 series, and today we're going to be going over one of the most important fundamental parts of blockchains in the entire blockchain system, and that's going to be oracles. Okay, you guys, oracles allow for there to be communication between the blockchains so that different blockchains like Ethereum, Solana, XRP, XLM, Bitcoin, they can all communicate with each other through smart contracts. So I know for like the past 5-6 episodes I've been talking about different alternative coins to Bitcoin, and kind of giving their background, the white paper and things like that. But today we're not essentially talking about a crypto coin, we're talking about a crypto network. But there is a crypto coin linked to this whole concept that I'm going to be talking about, and that's going to be Chainlink. Okay, that is the biggest and the greatest of all Oracle networks, okay, Oracle platforms there's going to be. But we're going to go over what an Oracle is first, so y'all have a clear understanding of it, because again, it is not a cryptocurrency. But before we get started, welcome back to Getting Digital with Daisha. Hop into the textbook definition for Oracle. Now, it was a little difficult for me to understand. This is probably the hardest cryptocurrency topic that I've done so far for me to actually grasp what it does. So I did get like definitions from a few different sources. So bear with me, you guys. It might be a little bit long, but that's how I understood it. So I'm giving it to you guys how I got it. Okay, that's enough rambling. Okay. Oracles are neither just coins nor just nodes. They are decentralized services or systems that act as bridges connecting blockchains to external real-world data. Only through oracles can on-chain code be combined with off-chain systems to unlock more advanced institutional use cases and decentralized apps. Without oracles, smart contracts would be limited to executing logic based on data already stored on the blockchain, severely restricting their utility and innovation. Oracles can be thought of as a combination of the internet for computers and on-chain cloud services platforms for organizations building smart contracts. So I know that was a very lengthy definition, so I am going to try to make sense of exactly what I just said. So these oracles are networks, okay? Again, they are not nodes, they are not cryptocurrencies, they are networks, okay? And they allow these blockchains from different cryptocurrencies like the Bitcoin blockchain, XRPL, or just like Solana and all those different blockchains to be able to communicate and transact with each other via smart contracts. But you have to remember, okay, that these different blockchains are specific only to that specific cryptocurrency. So that means that the Bitcoin network is going to have everything about Bitcoin. They're not going to have things about XRP, about Solana, all that. No. Then on top of that, you have XRPL is going to have everything about XRP, everything that is involved with the XRPL network, okay, and things like that. So you can think of these blockchains as their own little planets, okay, their own little planets, but they don't have access to be able to communicate with each other because they're own little planets that just coexist but literally know nothing about each other, okay? Just like Earth, we coexist with all these other planets, but we really don't know what it's like to live on Jupiter. Hey. So all these planets have all these different things that they can offer and do in the world, but they had no way of communicating with each other and doing those things. That's where these oracles come into play. These oracles allow there to be off-chain and on-chain data combined with each other and have just like a lot of different things that they can do. So basically just communication between the different blockchains, whether that be through transactions, whether that be through smart contracts, whether that be through anything, data services, anything. So it allows all these different blockchains to not only coexist but for them to intertwine. Now we're going to go over the different things that these oracles allow smart contracts to be able to do. So there's a lot of things that it can do for these smart contracts, but we're going to keep it down to 5, okay, for the sake of time. All right, and the first one is going to be to read and react to real world data. Number 2 is going to be to trigger actions in external systems. 3 is going to be coordinating activity across multiple blockchains. 4 is going to be using identity data to formulate compliance before settlements. And 5 is going to be executing verifiable computation that is literally so hard to do on chain or just impractical. Now let's start with the first thing, which was going to be reading and reacting to real world data. Okay, so I have an example of exactly what this means. So say you have 2 people and they're betting on a sports game, okay? And they're betting $20. So you have Chris and Craig, okay, betting $20 each on whoever will win this sports game, okay? So that $40 to $20 from each person is going to be held in a smart contract that's going to be in escrow. So the $40 is in a smart contract in escrow. Now, whenever the game is over, the smart contract is not going to know who to give the money to release the funds to Chris or to release them to Craig. The only way they'll know that is if they have the sports data, like who won, what was the scores, what was the points, and things like that, that essentially made up that smart contract. Now, because these blockchains cannot get external data, they rely on oracles to extract that external data from all different sources like sports leagues and things like that, or sports websites that literally give you who won the game and the points. They get the data from there and then they give it to the smart contracts, and that is how the smart contracts can release the funds to the right person based on the data that was given to them. So all that was a process of solving what they call the blockchain oracle problem. Now, I'm going to give the textbook definition of what blockchain oracle problem is. Refers to a fundamental limitation of smart contracts. They can't natively interact with data and systems outside the blockchain on which they're deployed in a secure and reliable manner. This is because blockchains are deliberately isolated from external systems. This design feature is how blockchains achieve their most valuable properties, like a strong tamper-resistant global accessibility and high uptime operating without interruptions. So the data that's getting fed to these smart contracts are so crucial. And the reason why is because that data affects the outcome. So if they say one team won, well, Craig betted on one team, so he gets that money. But if the data actually says that another team won, then that would mean that Chris actually gets the money. So the data is imperative to the outcome, which is why the data has to be safe, secure, and reliable, okay? And that is why oracles have to be safe, secure, and reliable. Now, I want to go into this idea. You may be thinking that oracles are just like this one thing, like a centralized thing. While you can have centralized oracles, that is not what kind of like keeps the crypto world going. The crypto world is run on decentralized oracles, because you have to remember, anytime there's anything centralized, there is a centralized point of failure, okay? And not even just a centralized point of failure. If someone hacks into that oracle network, okay, and they like manipulated a lot of the smart contracts, like the data and things like that is being fed to the smart contracts, that can represent or result in so many losses, so many monetary losses. And you have to remember, once a smart contract is put into place and it is released, there is no going back. There's no refund, there's no redo, there's no changing. They're permanent. So you cannot have any mistakes on something that can literally never be reversed, something that's permanent, okay, you guys? So they call these type of oracles DON, D-O-N, which is literally just a decentralized oracle network. So if you ever see that in the crypto world, you can say that Deja taught you what that means. Now let's talk about how these decentralized oracle networks actually run and the fundamentals behind it. A DON combines multiple independent oracle node operators and multiple reliable data sources to establish end-to-end decentralization. And you guys, the most adopted and the most essentially important DON is going to be Chainlink, the Chainlink platform, okay? Which is going to be linked to a cryptocurrency known as Link, okay? And so now we're going to go over what the Chainlink platform does. Chainlink is a decentralized oracle network that acts as a secure bridge between blockchain smart contracts and RWA's off-chain data. It enables blockchains to securely connect to external APIs, financial data, and web services, powering DeFi, NFTs, and cross-chain applications. The Link token is used to pay node operators for data services and to secure the network. And you know what's even crazier, which is what I'm going to go over in my next video, kind of like a part 2 to this video, is the price of Chainlink, okay, you guys? It's around like $8.30. $8.30. Something that has so much utility, so much freaking utility, more utility than any single platform I've gone over, in my opinion, so far. And it's only $8.25. How does Bitcoin? And you know what's like super crazy, you guys, is like, I feel like this is the time, like the early years of Chainlink. You know, I'm going to go into when Chainlink was discovered and all this other stuff in my next video, but we are in the early stages of Chainlink for something that has so much utility behind it. You know, way more utility than anything I've talked about. The price of being like $8 and a couple of cents is actually insane. This is like getting into NVIDIA when it was $1. or getting into Bitcoin when it was $10, or getting into Ethereum when it was 0.000001 cents. Again, not financial advice. Okay, so let's talk about a few of the reasons why Chainlink is the most widely adopted Oracle network of all Oracle networks, okay, you guys? And because this is like really technical and really important, I didn't want to get anything misconstrued. So we're going to be reading from the notes, the research notes, okay, you guys? So let's talk about Chainlink. Many Chainlink services, such as Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol, CCIP, price feeds, and data streams, utilize multiple layers of decentralization. Don't worry, guys, we're going to go over CCIP in my next video, okay? We're going to go over the entire thing, okay? Chainlink price feeds utilizes decentralization at the data source, individual node operators, and Oracle network levels to eliminate single points of failure. Through this multi-layer decentralized approach, Chainlink has become the industry standard Oracle platform, securing over 70% of the DeFi ecosystem and ensuring smart contracts can run safely, rely on data inputs during execution. 70%. So essentially, there's a lot of different Oracle networks out there, and they all kind of specialize in certain things, but Chainlink can do it all. It's like a developer's like dream platform, okay? They can do it all. So the Chainlink platform is going to be made of push-based oracles and pull-based oracles. And when I go over the definition of these, it'll be kind of easier to remember because one is going to be pulling information and one is going to be pushing out information. But we're going to go over the textbook definition for that now. So first, we're going to go over push-based oracles. And what these oracles essentially do is they're going to be gathering information and releasing information to the blockchain from external sources, from external data sources on a predictable schedule. So it could be every minute, or it could be every time this goes up by 1% or something like that. And this mechanism powers Chainlink data feeds, okay? So it's essentially feeding data to the blockchain that it's getting from external sources and putting that data out to the blockchain like on predictable time periods, or every time something happens, you know, like up by 5%, 10%, things like that. So now we have pull-based oracles. And essentially these oracles pull information and data from different places. It fetches it and it groups it together and it places it in a smart contract off chain. And now anybody can bring it on chain whenever they need to see that data. So it's not essentially just always having to be there. They can pull this information and put it on chain onto the blockchain so that they can see this information. So the cool thing about this, or the main difference between this, is that since it's taking it off chain and holding it off chain until you need to use it, it will be able to make a lot of updates off chain to that data very, very quickly, very fast. And on top of that, it will be at a much lower cost. And this mechanism powers Chainlink data streams, okay? So now we're gonna go over the different type of blockchain oracles. So first we have data oracles, and this is going to be transferring information and data between blockchain and external systems like banks and institutions. So this allows smart contracts to be able to consume data on chain and use it for what they need it to do. And then also they can let out commands to external systems, okay, based on the data within that smart contract that was collected from the oracle. And one example of this being used is to trigger a payment, okay? So essentially the oracle is giving the smart contracts information that they need to be able to trigger the payment that the smart contract is going to command from the network. So now we have cross-chain oracles, which essentially is going to allow different and multiple blockchains to be able to exchange data, to be able to exchange commands and value. So that means money within each other on these blockchains, okay? So that also means that these smart contracts will be able to operate on different blockchains, okay? So a smart contract can be implementing 2 blockchains at once, okay? That could be inside of the smart contract. Like, oh, if this happens on the Bitcoin blockchain and this happens on the XRPL, then this smart contract will be executed. It's like, that's like an example, okay? But you're going to need data from both blockchains to be able to even do that, and that is where the cross oracle comes into play. So the cool thing about this is it's going to be operating on both private and public blockchains, okay? So it doesn't matter what type of blockchain it is, it can do cross-chain type of operations, okay? And fun facts, Coinbase actually uses this cross-chain oracle that is coming from Chainlink, okay? So many applications and smart contracts require a lot of computation that's just really impractical to place onto the blockchain. It has a high cost, it's a breach of privacy, like a breach of security. So this is where compute oracles, which is the third oracle we're talking about, comes into play. So compute oracles literally does all of this off-chain in order for it to be a lower cost, for it to be faster, and for it to be more secure, okay? So it's less impractical for these things to be computing all of this information, all of this data on chain, and it's making it more practical by doing it off chain. So this broadens the scope on what smart contracts can do, because now you're making it to where something was almost impossible to do on chain, and you're making it completely possible and easy off chain. The sky is the limit at this point with these smart contracts. Okay, you guys, so now we're going to go over the different things that these compute oracles will allow smart contracts to do. Now, when I'm talking about these compute oracles, I am talking about the Chainlink platform, okay? What the Chainlink platform, their oracles on there, the compute oracles allow them to do for smart contracts, okay? So I'm actually gonna be reading this from my research, okay, you guys? Okay, and it's 5 topics, so bear with me, you guys. 5 things they can do. Number 1, it can group data from multiple sources, compute the median to ensure accurate tamper-resistant data. Number 2, it can run a verifiable randomness function to generate a tamper-proof and fair source of randomness. Number 3, it can automate a smart contract by triggering it to run at specific times or when predefined events occur. Number 4, it can enforce compliance policies within tokens and applications using identity data and existing compliance systems. Number 5, it can generate privacy for different parts of on-chain transactions using trusted execution environments and zero-knowledge proofs. Alright, you guys, do y'all remember what zero-knowledge proofs are? I really hope you did, because I literally went over that in great detail in my last video. So if you don't know what it is, I think you should watch that video. I think you should watch that video anyways, because I'm talking about XLM. But yeah, so back to this topic. That is what these Chainlink compute oracles can do. As you see, they can do everything. Everything, the whole scope of the different type of oracles there are and what they can do and how they operate. Chainlink, the platform, actually offers all of that on one platform, which is amazing. So you don't have to use, like, whoever is a developer or something, they won't have to use different, like, Oracle platforms to be able to get things done. They can do it all on one platform, and that platform is going to be Chainlink, okay, you guys? And when they talk about Chainlink, they call it like the missing link, okay? So, you know, all of these different blockchains trying to communicate with each other and have all these transactions and exchange things with each other, but they were missing a link. And this is what Chainlink comes into play. It's going to be linking all these systems, all these blockchains, external, internal, private, public, all together, and just like dishing out information, taking in information, okay? And allowing these smart contracts to really expand their scope and do whatever your human brain can think of. So that is going to be it for today. I went over Oracle, the different type of oracles that exist, why oracles are important, their functionality within and outside of the blockchains, and all of that good stuff, you guys, okay? So now on my next episode, we're going to be going over Chainlink, okay, which is the #1 oracle platform in the entire crypto ecosystem, okay? But I had to go over what an oracle was in order for you to actually understand the importance, the utility, and the fundamentals behind the Chainlink platform and the Link cryptocurrency. Now, on that note, you guys, I want to wish you guys a great, wonderful day. Go out there and learn something. Go be nice to somebody. Just have a wonderful day. Get your thoughts out of your head, you guys, and just like flow through life, at least just for today. And never forget that pretty girls can do crypto too. All right, see you next time.